It's January 16th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with the arrest of the first sitting South Korean president in the nation's history. Investigators will begin day 2 of questioning the arrested President Yoon Suk Yeol at 2 p.m. Thursday over his martial law order after he faced over 10 hours of questioning the day before. Yoon spent the night at the Seoul Detention Center. Also today, President Yoon's impeachment trial hearing takes place after the first session on Tuesday ended in minutes due to Yoon's absence. His legal team requested rescheduling the hearing as he can't be there in person. Over in Gaza, Israel and Hamas have agreed to a deal that will put the Gaza war on hold for 6 weeks and begin the release of hostages and Palestinian prisoners. For the first time in the nation's history, a sitting South Korean president was arrested and taken in for questioning. It took just over 40 days for President Yoon to be arrested as part of the investigation into his martial law declaration. Our Pam Bondi starts us off.
At around 10:30 a.m., President Yoon was arrested at his presidential residence in central Seoul, marking a historic moment in South Korea's political landscape. He was arrested after a 7-hour standoff, with the operation to arrest him beginning in the early morning hours of Wednesday at around 3:20 a.m. This came 43 days after Yoon's short-lived imposition of martial law on December 3rd, making him the first sitting president to become arrested in South Korea's history. This was the second time that the anti-corruption investigators tried to arrest President Yoon, but unlike the first arrest attempt 2 weeks ago, Wednesday's attempt succeeded without any physical encounters. It was carried out rather peacefully, as the presidential bodyguards showed almost no resistance. Investigators passed through defense lines in the residence by using ladders to go over the buses that were parked as barricades, and the team managed to secure entry without any major incidents. But the 64-year-old leader, who has repeatedly said his arrest warrant is not legally valid, did not admit that he was arrested. Rather, he said in a video message on Wednesday that he agreed to cooperate with anti-corruption authorities to prevent bloodshed, adding that the rule of law has completely collapsed after his detention.
불미스러운 유혈 사태를 막기 위해서 일단 불법 수사이긴 하지만 공수처 출석에 응하기로 했습니다.
On social media, he posted another defiant message, a handwritten letter, insisting once again that the imposition of martial law is not a crime, and that it's only an exercise of presidential authority to overcome a national crisis. And throughout Wednesday, thousands of Koreans protested for and against the president. Angry supporters of President Yoon rallied overnight, holding up signs that said they would fight with the president. Around 30 of them even laid down on the roads, and some were seen crying. Meanwhile, those against Yoon also came out to protest. After the impeached leader was arrested, anti-Yoon protesters cheered, while Yoon supporters were seen crying and wailing. Pam Bondi, Arirang News.
The questioning for President Yoon lasted nearly 11 hours on Wednesday and will resume this afternoon, investigators say. We go live to our Kim Do-yeon at the investigator's office. Do-yeon, while today is supposed to be the second day of questioning, it's unclear whether President Yoon will be coming from Seoul Detention Center at all, right?
Good morning, Dami. That's right. Today was supposed to be the day 2 of questions for President Yoon on his charges of insurrection due to his declaration of martial law last month. But as you said, it was initially set to start at 2 p.m., but it may not actually happen today at all. Now, according to according to reports, President Yoon's legal team have asked for a delay to start of questioning due to health issues, but now have stated that Yoon has nothing more to say and says he won't take questions. what seems to be a lack of cooperation from Yoon reflects his stance on the investigation from the beginning. He's called it illegal as he says the CIO does not have the investigative authority over insurrection charges. And as he left the presidential residence yesterday morning, he said he only gave in to investigators and was detained to prevent any unfortunate clashes between the investigators and the Presidential Security Service.
Well, Doyeon, walk us through the first day of the questioning on Wednesday, nearly 11 hours of questioning.
That's right. President Yoon spent 10 hours and 40 minutes being questioned here at the CIO starting 11 a.m. Now, prosecutors at the CIO have been questioning President Yoon on his motives and the preparation process for the declaration of martial law and what his specific orders were when the military raided the National Assembly and the National Election Commission, among others. What we know so far is that he's remained silent for the most part, and if he moves to the CIO for questioning today, he will likely continue to do so as well. The CIO has to be mindful of time, though. The warrant issued by the court only gives him 48 hours to detain President Yoon, and based on the questioning, they will request for a warrant that will allow them to detain President Yoon for up to 20 days. All that needs to be done by Friday morning, as Yoon's detention started around 10 a.m. yesterday.
Doyeon, time is indeed ticking. Now, pro and anti-Yoon protesters are now arriving at the investigator's office there where you're standing. How are things looking there at the moment?
That's right, Dami. Well, as you said, the questioning might not even happen here at all. You can hear the protesters, and it hasn't stopped them from coming early in the morning, in fact, with dozens of them right now. And according to what they're saying, there will be more throughout the day. But as of now, all I see are dozens of protesters in support of President Yoon. The police also started forming barriers with buses to prevent any unfortunate incidents starting early in the morning as well. Of course, overnight around here, there was an incident when someone lit themselves on fire. The person is in critical condition, and it's unknown whether the action was in support or against President Yoon, but we'll find out more. That's all I have for now. Back to you, Dami.
Alrighty, Doyeon, thank you for that report. Now, President Yoon wrapped up the first day of questioning before being moved to Seoul Detention Center. Now, that will be his home until questioning by investigators comes to an end. Our Shin Ha-young has the details.
President Yoon Suk Yeol was taken to the Seoul Detention Center in Uiwang, Gyeonggi-do Province at 9:50 p.m. on Wednesday, where he spent his first night in a cell to himself. Yoon was taken by car from the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials after 10 hours of questioning. This unprecedented situation with the sitting president being detained has raised questions about security at the prison, but no specific rules are in place. The Presidential Security Service has reportedly discussed security measures with the detention center. However, an official from the Ministry of Justice said discussions about Yoon's security are confidential and cannot be confirmed. The room, about 10 square meters, is reported to have a toilet, television, foldable mattress, and other essentials. There is no bed, but the floor is heated with CCTV monitoring the room. Former Presidents Roh Tae-woo and Park Geun-hye were held at this detention center, and currently former minor opposition party leader Cho Guk, sentenced for academic fraud involving his children, is serving time there. Yoon's breakfast on Thursday morning included cereal, boiled eggs, nuts, and milk. Until a decision is made on another type of arrest warrant seeking a longer period of detention, Yoon will be moving back and forth between the CIO for questioning and the detention center. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
And the second hearing for President Yoon's impeachment trial takes place today after justices adjourned the first meeting due to his non-appearance. Now, given his arrest on Wednesday, his lawyers have asked for the hearing to be rescheduled. We now head over to the Constitutional Court with our Oh Soo-young standing by. Hello there, Soo-young.
Good morning, Tammy.
So, Soo-young, for obvious reasons, the president cannot attend the hearing today.
That's right. President Yoon's lawyers have requested the Constitutional Court to postpone the second impeachment trial hearing, which was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. Now, this came after President Yoon's detainment and questioning by state investigators from Wednesday morning until late into the night. Yoon's lawyers are reportedly claiming that holding a hearing during his detention violates his right to go to the court as the respondent. Now, as he's already missed his first session, if he does not attend Thursday's hearing, then justices can proceed to begin a full-fledged trial without him. We have yet to hear whether the court will agree to postpone the session, but if it goes ahead, we're likely to see a strong protest from Yoon's lawyers. Now, the trial already has had a rocky start, with the president's legal team filing a series of objections to the court. These include an objection to the first hearing and the court's decision to fix 5 hearing dates without consultation, both of which the court has rejected. Now, Yoon's side has also objected to the court's decision to accept ongoing investigation records as evidence, saying that this violates trial rules. His team has further cited security concerns in attending the trial, filing for an injunction against arrest warrants by state investigators.
Now, Soo-young, do remind us the key points and also the arguments expected to be raised in the trial today.
Sure thing, Tammy, but at this point, it's hard to expect a smooth trial process with organised arguments. It's going to be rather messy as President Yoon's lawyers and the National Assembly's impeachment panel trying to remove him from office failed to narrow their differences over the main grounds for impeachment in the 2 pre-trial sessions that they have. And initially, the National Assembly's panel, they set out 4 to 5 main grounds for impeachment, and this included the declaration of martial law on December 3rd, and various actions that they claimed disrupted the constitutional order. Now, in a written response to the court on Tuesday, Yoon's team claimed that martial law was justified due to suspicions of election fraud and the opposition-led parliament sabotaging governance, among other reasons that put the country in a state of crisis akin to war or a national emergency. But the biggest point of contention continues to be whether insurrection stands as a main ground for impeachment. The National Assembly's panel withdrew it from their argument as they want to speed up the verdict. But Yoon's side argues that the Assembly cited insurrection as a major reason for impeachment in their resolution, so removing it from the debate undermines the trial's legitimacy. Now, court justices have been reportedly comprehensively reviewing this matter, but until now they've been emphasizing the importance of speeding up the trial.
Alrighty, Soo-young, thank you for keeping us updated. South Korea's central bank held its key interest rate steady on Thursday morning as the Korean won remained weak. It announced a decision following the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the year. Now, the move keeps the benchmark interest rate unchanged at 3% and comes after 2 consecutive quarter-point cuts in both the October and November monetary policy meetings last year. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump said if he were in the White House, Seoul would be paying $10 billion a year to station U.S. Forces Korea in South Korea, while he will be back in the Oval Office next Monday. Now, what next for South Korea? Let's turn to Professor Mason Ricci. Thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with where Trump's rather obsessive and aggressive take on defense cost sharing with countries around the world came from originally.
I think it comes from two places, really. The first of which is a long-standing belief by Trump that countries that are allies of the United States should essentially be financially more prone to paying the United States something in the effect of protection money, really. And that goes back to the 1980s, really. And in particular, this is the case, I think, with the Asian allies, although it's increasingly been the case with European allies, too, that he essentially thinks that those countries are taking advantage of the United States' security guarantees for them, and also taking advantage of them financially. And so, one way to get around that in his head involves these types of burden sharing agreements. The second thing, is I think that Trump misunderstands fundamentally what alliances are about, and he doesn't see them as partnerships in which the United States also gets something positive out of it, but rather as an obligation or there's some type of responsibility that the United States takes on behalf of another country, and he thinks that in that sense, other countries should therefore be responsible for paying the United States for this type of protection money.
Well, we have to talk about why Trump is targeting Seoul specifically. I mean, is he trying to take advantage of the situations here on the Korean Peninsula? What's your take on it?
So I think Seoul has a number of things going against it, or South Korea more generally has a number of things going against it. The first of which is a positive trade balance with the United States, which, as I mentioned, is something that has always irked Trump going back even to the 1980s. At the time, it was about Japan having a positive trade balance with the United States. So I think that's part of it. And as I said, he doesn't understand, or at least seemingly doesn't understand, the fact that the U.S.-South Korea alliance, like the other U.S. alliances, also provides positive benefits for the United States. So this is a long-standing set of beliefs that Trump has about alliances. They're not about order building, as far as he's concerned. They are highly transactional. And this is not something new in his thinking. And so I don't think that the way in which he's been aggressively communicating the way that he wants to take a harder line on South Korea has anything to do with South Korea's current vacuum in leadership and the current vulnerability and weakness in South Korean government. I think the interesting question will be to what extent the Trump administration has that weakness in South Korea on its radar and would choose to use that vacuum in leadership and that government and cabinet weakness here as a vulnerability that they could exploit in order to try to get a better deal out of South Korea, whether it be on the special measures agreement for host nation military support, or whether it be renegotiating the Korea's free trade agreement.
It is indeed a concern that South Korea is going through such a political turmoil ahead of the new U.S. leadership coming in. Now, does that mean he will not reignite the debate as soon as he takes office? Do you think it'll happen soon, or is it not one of his priorities?
So I think that the silver lining for South Korea on this is that the Trump 2.0 agenda includes quite a bit of obviously domestic-related issues. There are also a lot of other problems in the world right now that Trump is interested in, at least in principle, including the Russia-Ukraine war.
Right.
So there's a chance, I think, that simply because of the number of things that the Trump administration are going to be interested in doing domestically and internationally, that South Korea or the Korean Peninsula or even in some sense Northeast Asia more generally may not be the first thing that Trump turns to. I think the second thing is we have to remember at least normal administrations tend to come in and do a fairly substantive review of current policy.
Right.
And so there's, I think, built into the system normally several months worth of policy review. Of course, there will be some things that the Trump administration wants to roll out right away, but for a number of issues, there will be policy reviews, and perhaps one of those is going to be the U.S.-South Korea alliance. And I think it's also worth pointing out that I think that some of his national security team and his foreign policy team are pretty big supporters of the U.S.-South Korea alliance, and that's fairly widely shared. And so I think that some of those people are probably going to try to pump the brakes a little bit on trying to push South Korea too hard on the SMA, at least at first.
Well, then I have to ask you, is it safe to say that he won't scrap the defense cost-sharing deal that South Korea and Washington sealed last November? Or will he at least try to use it as a leverage to get something else?
I don't think it's safe to say that he won't scrap it, but that's not, I think, the most likely option. I think that the most likely option is some type of renegotiated agreement. And I think that this time, perhaps even more so than in his first term, when, again, he made some very significant demands for increases from South Korea, is that the world is a more complex place. It's more interconnected than it was before. The risks, I think, are interconnected between theaters and between countries. And so I think that there's a greater sense in which the SMA might be connected to other issues, and there might be possibilities both on the U.S. side and on the South Korean side to use various elements of leverage that probably wouldn't have played in as much as before. So I think that we're probably going to get some type of renegotiation, and I think it's going to be fairly complex given the amount of elements of leverage that both sides can use to try to pressure the other.
Before I let you go, Professor Ritchie, what can or should South Korea do so that Trump doesn't see South Korea as an ATM and, increase pressure on Seoul to pay a greater share of defense costs?
Well, the best thing that they could have done would have been to avoid the martial law scenario and the government breakdown that's happened ever since December 3rd. But unfortunately, that horse has left the barn. The fact of the matter is that the current acting president and his cabinet have weakened leverage. And so in that sense, I think they're just going to have to hope that the Trump administration doesn't come in with very quickly with an enormous amount of pressure in this area, as well as in other areas in terms of the U.S.-South Korea relationship. Beyond that, I think the important thing that South Korea needs to remind the United States of, and I know that they've already done it and will probably continue to do it, is that South Korea is very valuable for the United States in its larger effort to contain China. This is very valuable real estate in Northeast Asia, where the United States has 28,500 troops on the ground. It is a very important partner with Japan and the trilateral relationship, and that's also important vis-a-vis China, which is a huge focus for the Trump administration. And currently, right now, South Korea is also the largest foreign direct investor into the United States, and that financial component, I think, will play to South Korea's advantage too. So I think that they should hit on those talking points as much as they possibly can.
Alrighty, Professor Ritchie, thanks so much for sharing your insight with us this morning. You have a great day.
Great, thanks. You have a great day also.
In other news, a ceasefire deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. The 6-week ceasefire will begin Sunday and includes the exchange of prisoners and hostages. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire deal that will put a halt to the conflict in Gaza for 6 weeks, beginning on Sunday. Qatar's prime minister announced a ceasefire deal on Wednesday, adding his hope that the pause in fighting will lead to an eventual permanent ceasefire.
Qatar, the Arab Republic of Egypt and the United States are happy to announce the success of joint mediation efforts in order to reach a deal between the parties in conflict in the Gaza territory, to exchange prisoners and hostages, and a return to a prolonged truce that achieves a permanent ceasefire between the two sides.
As part of the ceasefire deal, the Palestinian militant group is expected to release 33 Israeli hostages initially. In exchange, Israel released 30 Palestinian prisoners for every Israeli hostage and 50 Palestinian prisoners for every one of the 5 female Israeli soldiers being held in Gaza. Within the first 42 days of the deal, females and hostages under 19 years old will be released. They make up the 33 Israeli hostages mentioned in the agreement. Reports say some 1,650 Palestinian prisoners could be released as part of the deal. Pundits say the growing pressure to have Israeli hostages returned home forced Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to agree to the ceasefire deal, while others say the election of Donald Trump was behind it. However, both Trump and U.S. President Joe Biden were quick to take credit. Speaking from the White House on Wednesday, Biden said the deal was reached under the precise contours of a plan he set out in May last year. Biden added that the ceasefire deal was the result of painstaking American diplomacy. On the other hand, Trump took to Truth Social to say that the ceasefire agreement could have only happened as a result of his historic victory in November. Biden says negotiations will continue beyond the latest temporary ceasefire to phase 2 of the deal that could include a permanent halt to the conflict in Gaza. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, let's take a look at the stories from around the world with our Choi Ji-hee. Good morning, Ji-hee.
Good morning, Dami.
So, Ji-hee, with Donald Trump's inauguration just around the corner, we are seeing a series of confirmation hearings for his cabinet picks. Now, let's start with the U.S. Attorney General nominee's confirmation hearing.
Right. President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General Pam Bondi testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Wednesday, vowing to maintain the Justice Department's independence. Now, Bondi, who previously served as Florida's Attorney General from 2011 to 2019, said she will not allow politics to influence her decisions and that her duty is to uphold the rule of law. While Democratic senators expressed concerns about her close ties to Trump, particularly her role as his lawyer during his 2020 impeachment trial and her comments related to the 2020 election, Republican senators voiced confidence in her confirmation. Bondi also emphasized that her overriding objective would be to keep Americans safe and get back to basics. Over in China, the Ministry of Commerce issued a statement denouncing recent U.S. trade restrictions, particularly those targeting China's semiconductor industry. It said the Biden administration's expansion of export controls were economic coercion and a violation of international trade rules. The Commerce Ministry spokesperson added that such measures disrupt global supply chains and harm the interests of both Chinese and American companies. This follows the U.S. Commerce Department's recent addition of several Chinese tech firms to its export control list, aiming to limit China's access to advanced semiconductor technologies. In South Africa, a police operation has retrieved at least 78 bodies from an illegal gold mine. Hundreds of miners had been trapped for months in the mine in Stilfontein, with the police trying to force them out by cutting off food and water. The operation also rescued 246 survivors from the mine, with many of the survivors in such bad condition from lack of food and water that they were unable to walk. The South African government's harsh measures to attempt to curb illegal mining have drawn criticism from human rights groups and community members.
Central parts of Korea could see a mix of rain and snow today, starting earlier in the day, but should subside by the late afternoon. Gangwon-do province could see up to 5 centimeters. The capital area could also see flurries around lunchtime to mid-afternoon. Please stay safe on the road. The cold snap should ease today, with top temperatures going up much higher this afternoon, topping out at 5 degrees Celsius here in the capital, but it will be rather cloudy all day. The rest of the country will also notice afternoon highs going 2 to 7 degrees higher. Daejeon tops out at 7 degrees, Daegu, Busan at 8 degrees, with decent air quality expected nationwide. After today's wintry precipitation, we can expect much brighter skies with temperatures gradually getting warmer. Just for the heads up, there will not be any major cold snap next week as well. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That is all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.
How to survive in Korea. Cafes. Step 1. Find a seat. Before ordering, find a seat. Laptop, ID, smartphone, jacket, whatever that can mark your territory. But no bites. It's a little too big. Step 2. Pick up. We do not ask or call your name. We call out, B69번 고객님. The buzzer will vibrate when your order is ready at the counter. Wait, got your straw? Keep the top of the wrapper on. Doing this is more hygienic. Step 3. Cafe etiquette. If you need to use your laptop, find a seat next to a socket. No extra charge for using electricity. But if you're staying over 3 hours, how about ordering another drink or dessert? Step 4. Last bite standing. There's a mysterious custom in Korea. The last bite standing. When there's about 1 bite left of that cake, nobody will go for it. You might be tempted, but don't be hasty. Right before you get up, take the last piece, saying that you simply can't waste food, or just leave it. It will save a few calories. Did you survive at the cafe? Did someone behind the counter catch your eye? Go for the same drink every single day.
오늘도 아이스 말차 라떼 드실 거죠?
You might make an impression.
Our lives are swept into a vortex of this intricately connected world. Providing an in-depth exploration of global security, diplomacy, economy, and culture to offer a unique international perspective. Embark on a global news journey with the Geovista today.
고무장갑 다 똑같다고? 아니, 러버랩은 달라. 내 손인 듯 하루 종일 편하게. 슬림한 두께로 낀 듯 안 낀 듯 가볍게. 튼튼하니까 걱정 없이. 두 가지 길이로 다양하게 쓰는 러버랩으로 만드는 편리한 일상. 껴보면 달라. 러버랩 고무장갑. 러버랩.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We're a news generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Thursday, January 16th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Joining us today is Jessica Dainha.
Happy Thursday, everyone.
Happy Thursday. And Julian Kim.
Happy Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're going to begin with our keyword news. Today's keyword is book. A recent survey has shown that the best book published in Korea after the start of the year 2000 is Nobel Literature Laureate Han Kang's 2014 novel, novel Human Acts. The survey was conducted by the domestic online bookstore brand Aladdin, involving 106 experts, including authors and translators. In second place was Chung Hee-jin's The Challenges of Feminism, followed by the Korean version of Judith Butler's Gender Trouble and Kim Hyung-kyung's Person, Place, Hospitality. So, Julian, have you read Human Acts? And if you have not, could you please share us what your favorite book is and why?
Yeah, so I haven't had the chance to read this book yet, but I would really love to read it soon, especially what's going on in this country. I think it's relevant and important to read. Now, as a kid, I really enjoyed reading the Percy Jackson series, and like to this day, it still remains to be like my favorite novel series ever. The characters all have some kind of charm to it. Like I love the mythological background to it, but unfortunately now I don't read books as much as I used to when I was younger. So as an effort, especially since now it's the new year, I am trying to put more of an effort towards reading a book. So I am reading the book Crying in Asia right now. It's a story of, so it's a story about a mixed race Korean woman navigating, connecting to her cultural roots, and like because she lost her mother, like how she can like connect to that like her mother's side of the family too. And I think many viewers can resonate with this story, and I recommend reading it too. There's also both an English and Korean version too.
Great, I should put that on my list as well. And then what about you, Cheska?
Yeah, Eugene, you know I love to read, but I'm very emotionally sensitive, so I make sure that when I pick the book, I usually read nonfiction. So I have not read it, but I do remember we discussed it
when Han-gang won the Nobel Prize in Literature last year.
Exactly, intensively here in the studio. So this book, as I looked it up, deals with the May 18th, the Korean 5.18 Gwangju Democratic Movement, and it's actually divided up into 6 chapters. It was told from 6 different points of view. And I also read the synopsis for the viewers who might be interested. It's actually a very heart-wrenching story as it details the relationship of friends and family that went through this period and the things that they went through. So it is definitely a human story, I would say. And I think when you read it, it really makes us appreciate this time of democracy that we live in and the kind of sacrifices that we went through to enjoy what we do without knowing what we went through.
Right. So Human Acts, it's available not only in Korean, but in other languages such as English as well. So if you have the time, please check out Human Acts this year. And that was our keyword news for this Thursday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today it's Thursday, which means it's time to explore the Korean wave and the global appeal of Korean culture. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
Behind every superstar is an army of dedicated fans. K-pop in particular is renowned for its passionate fan base and unique fandom culture. How are fans supporting their favorite artists these days?
So this enthusiastic support of fans showing their love and admiration for their favorite artists is often called 덕질 in Korean. Now, to give you more of an explanation, the term 덕 originates from the Japanese word otaku, which describes someone with deep knowledge and interest in a specific subject. And 질 refers to doing something in Korean. So starting off, I want to ask our panelists, do you have any experience of 덕질, of a celebrity, a K-pop artist, or an actor you like?
I have not, but I actually have quite a number of friends and acquaintances who do so. So I am very well aware of it. There were some K-pop stars that my friends liked, but also actually actors are very popular too. Because now with the growing popularity of K-content, I have some foreign friends who would like buy goods and even travel to South Korea just for their purposes. But the most recent one that I was exposed to indirectly was I had a friend who was a fan, and they rented out this entire cafe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to celebrate their favorite actor's birthday.
Oh, so the birthday cafe.
Yeah, so everything was decorated with photo cards, like faces of this actor all over the place. They had special drinks made for his the dramas and the movies that he featured in. And when I went, they would give me like photo cards and drinks. And it was almost like stepping into a Disneyland.
Yeah, that artist-themed amusement park or theme park.
It's very unique, very,
Well, I think that I have an experience of 덕질 because in the past, like 8 years ago, I really liked a member of a Korean boy group. And then at that time on X, which is formerly Twitter, they kind of sold plushies of that specific artist. And it also came with like apparels and costumes that he wore during his performances or concerts. So I bought that doll and then I kept it for several years. Honestly, I don't know where where it is right now, but looking back, I do have an experience of Tokjil.
How many outfits did you buy? Did you just buy?
I think I bought all options that were available, so it kind of costed me around $30, $40-ish, so.
Not too bad.
Not too bad, okay. So I have an experience of Tokjil. Cheska was exposed to Tokjil.
I was exposed, yes.
Yes. Then what about you, Julian?
Now, I'm not really sure if I experienced Tokjil for any celebrity. Now, there are many like artists and actors that I do really admire and like appreciate their work for, but I don't think I invest too much time and money for like being any part of like any fandom. But I guess the closest I've experienced with Tokjil is for one of my favorite singers, Dua Lipa. Now she actually had one of her concerts here in Seoul like about like a month ago. And when she announced her tour, I was one of the first people to buy tickets. I got like one of the standing rows, and I think I went to the venue about like, I would say about like 4 hours early just to get like merchandise.
Really? 4 hours?
Yeah, so I don't think like, I don't do this regularly, so I'm not sure if that's like Tokjil, but I would say that's the closest I've experienced.
I think it's Tokjil because Julian waited for like hours. And once again, Tokjil, it means being very enthusiastic or knowledgeable about a celebrity or something else. So I think you are a part of Tokjil, Julian.
Great, and I'm not ashamed of it.
If I may, if we go along with that line, I think I do have somewhat of Tokjil, Harry Potter.
Oh, we can see that from your tie
Yes,
today.
Harry Potter. I mean, this is not a Harry Potter tie, but I definitely bought goods. I even like bought their sweater, like their house trinket. So I think Harry Potter would be closest to what I come. Yeah,
so I think we're all part of Tokjil.
Yeah, very passionate.
Right. So going back to Tokjil, as the fan base of K-pop singers grow globally, the way fans express their affection is also evolving, and it's not only towards K-pop artists nowadays. As Cheska mentioned, it's towards actors and also musical actors, actresses, etc. So I want to ask you, what were some typical ways fans supported their favorite artists in the past, and how is that changing now?
Yeah, so I think Korea has a very interesting fandom culture.
Right.
And if any of our viewers watched a very famous drama called Reply 1997, 응답하라 1997, there's a scene where the main female protagonist goes to a fan concert, and back then there were balloons and raincoats that were extremely color specific and well coordinated, and the fans would actually even get into like fights depending on the color of these balloons. I mean, nowadays, now we have changed into light sticks, and now they don't even have to line up to buy posters or albums, and there's a variety of contents that are happening right now, and one of the ways that they do it is fan communication.
Right.
So back in the previous generation, fans sort of had this one-way love towards their favorite celebrities and stars. Nowadays, because of many communication channels such as Weverse and Bubble, these chat servers, you can pay and go on a subscription system, and actually the artists can see all the messages from the subscribers, but subscribers can only see the messages they send and the artist response.
Right.
So it kind of gives them the impression of having these like one-on-one direct communication. And I think fans really love that kind of very unique feeling. And also they are able to upload like photos and share some information. And I know a lot of K-pop stars now do like Insta Live and YouTube Live.
And they read the comments.
Exactly, and they try to communicate directly with their fans. So there's a lot of different venues that have opened up that makes fans feel more private and intimate towards their favorite celebs.
Right, and they can feel that their relationship with their favorite celebrities is kind of becoming like a two-way street.
Exactly, yeah. It feels like they know their celebs more. They feel like they have a more personal connection with their stars,
Right, and do you agree with this, Julia? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I think that the way that fans show their support today has changed a lot from the past, especially since like now there are new avenues for them to connect with their favorite celebrities. Like we mentioned earlier, like people like also go to like rent out cafes and celebrate like what they're called birthday cafes.
Right.
And they host them for like their favorite idols, and they post pictures kind of like an art gallery so everyone can go and explore like kind of like an exhibition. But adding on to like the birthday celebration of idols, you can see many of these like ads plastered all over like Korean subway stations.
Right.
And like you can even see like on social media too, many of these idols like take selfies with these ads just to show like a sense of gratitude. And it just, I think that creates like a closer bond between like the fans and the idols too.
So I think that the keyword here is closer bond between fans and artists. So fans also seem to be prioritizing experiences that allow them to interact or feel connected connected or more closer with their favorite celebrities. So can you share more examples on this trend, Cheska?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of research, and apparently fans travel with photo cards.
This is really interesting.
Yeah. And celebrity goods, like the plushies that you mentioned, to restaurants and places, and they like take a photo. And this is called 예절샷, which I guess direct translation is like polite photo shoot. And usually, as you and I mentioned, these plushies sometimes have like a stage outfit that you can dress. So I guess they can even like stylize their plushies. And there's a card case called Top Loader, and I actually looked it up on Amazon, and it's used previously for very special baseball cards or like Pokemon cards, and now they use these card seal to decorate their favorite celebrity photo card as well. And they visit these special photo booths to enjoy and take photos as if they're taking a photo with their favorite celebrity. So people are getting very creative.
Right, they're customizing their experiences too.
Yeah, and they're trying to create these experiences as intimate and personal as possible.
Right, and besides what Cheska mentioned, another noticeable change is how fans are now balancing their fandom activities with their personal and professional lives, which is a big meaningful change because in the past, some fans were really criticized, particularly by the older generations, for focusing entirely on these fandom activities and sometimes neglecting their schoolwork and other responsibilities. So, Julian, could you tell us more about this change?
Yeah, so many fans in the past and even fans now are criticized for neglecting their daily responsibilities and instead spending all their time and money towards like their favorite celebrities. However, many MZ fans are now more conscious about like their spending habits and balancing their tukje with their own daily life responsibilities. Many are notably putting more effort towards being financially responsible. And one example of this is the cost-effective fandoms, where fans are more aware of their spending habits and only really like investing for like a few select things, such as like maybe a live stream, a concert, or like one or two things from like the merchandise section. And yeah, so fans are increasingly more strategic with their spending habits and focusing on activities or just items that are meaningful to them. And yeah, so social media has also been a great tool for them to get like, exclusive content too. So that is also another way that people have been being able to like minimize their cost spendings when it comes to supporting their idols too.
All right, so far we focused on the fandom culture and activity here in Korea. Expanding our discussion, we also asked our viewers how they support their favorite artists these days, and here's what some of them said. So our first comment for this Thursday, we're gonna take a look. BTS is my happy place forever. You must be an ARMY. I love all the content and music BTS puts out. I go to their concerts, stream their music, and watch the programs they appear on because I love them so much. I do just everything. Salted Caramel 115 says, I went to a few birthday cafes for Chang Won-young with a friend, and each had its own unique decorations. There was even a map showing all the birthday cafes open that day, complete with the most efficient route. It was so impressive to see the level of passion and dedication from fans. Park Daeon85 says, I try to stay updated on their new songs and watch the programs featuring my favorite musicians, which are IVE, LE SSERAFIM, IU, Girls' Generation, and more. So we've taken a look at how our viewers are being part of the fandom culture, whether it's K-pop artists or more. To find out more about this culture, we're going to invite a K-pop fan from Malaysia after this short break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
So today we're joined by Alex Ho Kai Fai, a Malaysian Gen Z content creator. Welcome back to the show, Alex.
Hi guys, how are you guys? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So Alex, we first want to ask you, which K-pop artist or group are you a fan of? And have you noticed any differences between the fandom culture in Korea, which we've talked about until now, and Malaysia?
Right now, I'm currently a fan of Rise and also Blackpink. I both feel like... Yeah. The biggest difference, I would say, between the fans in Malaysia and the fans back in Korea would be the concert culture, because definitely in Malaysia, it is definitely harder for fans to attend concerts as we don't get them readily accessible or available in Malaysia. So most of us have to plan our route to travel to other countries to be able to watch our favorite idols. So that would be the main difference, I would say.
And Alex, what do you think is like a one major positive aspect of being part of this fandom culture?
Definitely learning up the culture and the language itself, because I don't know if you guys realize, but a lot of K-pop fans are quite fluent in Korean right now because, you know, they would like to understand what their idols are saying or singing or what the lyrics mean. So most of them would take up upon themselves to learn Korean properly.
Yeah, so some people are concerned about the fandom activities becoming excessive. So how do you personally maintain a healthy balance between those activities and your daily life too?
As a true fanboy myself, I'm attending concerts every month and chasing after idols and buying albums. Those are important aspects of my life. But at the same time, I feel like your life still has to go on. So I try to keep my personal life and my work life separated. So when I'm working, I work hard. But when I play real hard as well and try to chase after, you know, my idols and watch concerts and whatnot. Yeah, so I try to keep those two lives separated.
Great. All right, Alex, thank you so much for your time today. Always great to have you on our show.
Thank
you. Right, so for our last question, we talked about some concerns over excessive fandom activities. And before, we talked about how fans are becoming more mindful and responsible, but there are still worries about some extreme behavior associated with fandoms, right?
Yeah, and you know, Sang-jun mentioned people becoming more finance savvy, right? I think finance can be a very huge burden on a lot of these fans because a lot of them are young crowd.
Right.
And they're spending a lot of money and time to attend concerts, secure tickets, buy goods, and they usually have to line up for like hours. So there's a lot of burden on both time and money when it comes to, you know, talk to too much or too in excessive. And also I've heard that a lot of these goods are sold on online commerce.
Right,
so the refund and return policies are sometimes not as transparent. So that can also put a lot of stress on these fans also.
Right, and sometimes I heard that these rules are overly strict.
Yeah, exactly.
Which could, as you mentioned, be more burdensome for these young fans.
Right.
Then what could be some other concerns, Julian?
Yeah, so there are definitely concerns about extreme behaviors that associate with these fandoms. Some celebrities face harassment online and even physical harassment in public places such as like airports, and even like having like stuff be thrown at them while they're performing on stage too. Many of them are also victims of stalking, where people locate their hotels and houses and invade their personal space. And some people also bulk buy these albums just to increase their chances of like winning a fan signing event. And after they end up winning like these like prizes, they just end up throwing away like all these albums, which is not only harmful for the environment, but also like a huge burden for like the fans that want to purchase these albums too.
Right, so we're not saying that not all fans are like that. Majority of fans are giving inspiration and also motivation for their singers, but this is definitely something that we should think about and improve on. And ending off today's discussion, what's your perspective on K-pop's unique fandom culture? How do you think it can grow into a more mature and also positive environment for both fans and artists?
Yeah, you know, working in the media and entertainment industry, I've noticed that K-fandom is definitely unique. I mean, we're very passionate, and I'm so proud sometimes of how, you know, how much passion and fire we have for things that we love. But I think everything in moderation, right? I think it's great to have something that fuel your life, but we should use it to fuel our lives, not use our lives to fuel theirs. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great way to wrap up.
Thank you. Yes, fuel your life. Yeah. sounds like a public statement logo.
What about you, Julie?
Yeah, I really like what Jessica had just said, but just like any fandom culture, there's both the pretty side and the ugly side too. And I'm not really entirely sure how to like grow this into a more mature and positive environment for both the fans and the artists, especially since the trends of demographics continue to shift so quickly. However, I believe the key to fostering growth is open conversation about what behavior is acceptable and what is not. It's important to call out those who commit crimes or disrupt these like fandoms that are many like people refer to them as like safe places spaces for themselves too. And in regards to K-pop and its global mass appeal, I think it's great, especially as a Korean American. I just love seeing people that look like me being represented on mass media too. So to see K-pop be so widely celebrated and get that personal representation too is so incredibly empowering. So I think it's important to keep these discussions going to continue having a safe environment for everyone involved.
Right, and I think that discussions that we're having like this today will help foster a more mutually beneficial relationship between fans and their favorite artists. And that's all from us today, but NewsGen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Cheska Dainho.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
Thank you. And Julian Kim.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.